Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today we have author Jennifer Tempest, and she is going to talk with us about the Cardinal War. It was really exciting. Thank you for joining us, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So, the Cardinal War, how did you come up with it? Because I think after you read it, you kind of think of all the cardinals and like the Pope and Rome and stuff. But it's completely different. So I was just wondering if it was a play on that.
It was actually one of the things I considered with the cover page. I was originally going to have it in red, but talking with a friend, we thought that the red would actually lead more towards the Pope and cardinals like the bird. So that's one of the reasons why I made it a stormy background, to try and focus it on the cardinal compass. But yeah, I created it based on, I knew the characters were going to have wings, and then everything just kind of formed from there. The setting got created with the four manors, and then that made the four cardinal points. And I instantly knew I wanted to call it the Cardinal War.
What about all the secrets that are hidden in here?
Well, there's lots of secrets hidden in there, I find. Some little Easter eggs that'll maybe come up in future books, and some that get developed throughout the story without spoiling the ending or anything like that. But there's a lot of, I like to incorporate little small details for people to pick up on.
There were a lot. It was really well done. Is this your first series?
Yes, published it last year. I wrote it about 5-6 years ago. Just was a little scared to publish it, and then last year decided to just go for it. And first book I've published.
It's really fantastic. Exceptional writing. It's a great story that just really whooshed you away. And, it's something that you sit down and read for a couple of hours because you have to finish it.
That's good. I like to hear that. I want it to grab you.
It does. I mean, it's a short book, but it's action-packed. There's a lot of things hidden in. I like the way that you develop the whole coming of age, friendship, romance, and then all those secrets hidden in. They're really key. And then, just embarrassment about being different came into play a lot. Things were not always what they seemed. So why did you go in this direction? And it seems like young adult, like middle school, high school.
So I did write it when I was it would have been in my university time for me, but I did find I was going through that kind of experience of feeling different and just not fitting in. I felt that way throughout high school as well. So I think from writing other books, I had that element in it as well, and that kind of just carried forward. And I just really wanted people to be able to relate to the character and feel like you can be yourself without fear. There may be ups and downs with it, but overall, you want to be true to yourself.
And the main girl, I don't want to pronounce all the names wrong. Eileen?
Yeah, Eileen.
Eileen. Okay. So things just went really wrong for this poor kid. So does she reflect you maybe growing up, or somebody else you know? Or she just...
She was more just a character I came up with in the sense of her childhood. I luckily didn't have that experience growing up. I was very happy with my family, but I just find a lot of it helped build her character of being kind of alone and not being able to fit in. Whereas if she had come with a family and siblings or fitting in well to her family, she may not have grown the same way as she does in the Cardinal War.
Hmm. What about Reardon?
Raritan, yeah. So we go through his development a little bit. That was actually part during the edit process. I added even more about him, and I like some of the scenes where you just see him kind of thinking about his past and how his past actions have led to what's happened now. And
Hmm.
then we see his growth into the future as well. I didn't want the character of Eileen to be the only one that went through changes. I wanted multiple characters like Raridan and then Deathy as well to go through different changes and with each other as well. They change each other.
They definitely do. It was really well played out. It was strategic. Do you play a lot of games?
Yes, very big board game player. We have over 200 board games at home.
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah, we have a lot.
I don't even think I could name 200 board games.
Yeah,
That's
usually my friends just start describing a game and then I can tell them what it is.
wow. So, board games, what else about you? Do you have a love of travel that helped you develop the world that we're get sucked into?
Yeah, so a lot of the elements from the setting of the cities, because they're not large cities necessarily. Moordale is larger in comparison to the other ones in the Empire, but when I go to Italy or other places in Europe, such as Spain, I took a lot of inspiration from those smaller towns or cities and just the alleyways and the kind of rolling fields, different things, not necessarily just in this story, but in the world building as a whole. And going back to games, I actually take a lot of inspiration from a campaign with Dungeons and Dragons with my boyfriend. He
hmm
created a world, and I took some of the tavern settings and some of the building settings from that as well.
It was very well played out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed writing it, and I love taking inspiration from everything I can, even if it's just one character trait here or one city from over there. Just helps create the world as a whole.
Yeah, I thought it played out really well. There's a lot of Celtic names with some of them, had different meanings that kind of played into the storyline. That was really cute.
Yeah, I think it was from a previous book I had started or a previous story I'd written that I bought a book of Celtic names, which is just on my shelf here. And I just decided all the Cardinal War and for future books as well, they were going to be from that book. So I have a list now. I have picked ones for future that are a little bit simpler to pronounce, so I don't need the pronunciation guide. They're
Hmm.
just more, although people pronounce fantasy names however they like anyway, but at least I can have a goal in mind. But I created the characters with different personality traits or hair color or various meanings to kind of build them up a little bit.
Great. And you said there was going to be 5+ books possibly in the series or the Empire. So this book was close to 100 pages. Do they get larger as we go through?
Definitely. So I just finished actually my first edit of the next one, not gone through any professional editing yet, and it's already longer than this one is, the Cardinal War is. So I do think they'll get a little bit longer progressively. I don't want to necessarily write just for the sake of writing either. So I don't want to necessarily jump to, say, a novel length of 50,000 words just to have a novel. But I found this one I had more story to tell, so it naturally just got longer. And it will get probably even longer with the editing process.
Great. And how long did it take you to write the first one?
The first one I think took me about a year. I kind of went on and off writing it a little bit, but it did. I didn't have writer's block per se. It was just it naturally flow. And at that time, I wasn't sure if I was going to publish it, so I didn't have that pressure to try and get it done right away. And then, like I said, it took quite a few years until last year where I reviewed it again. It'd been a couple years since I looked at it, and I just read it again, changed a few things, and decided, no, I want to share this with the world.
It's a really wonderful, sweet story. It had a sweet ending too. That made you like look forward to the next book in the series to get more information.
Yeah, so I definitely I took feedback from my friends as well, and I want to keep writing in the world and expand on the characters, expand on the settings, and the next one's not going to be like a direct sequel in that it won't take place the day after or anything like that. But it will continue. Some of the characters are involved, and it's still in Freyfield, the Empire. And I wanted to keep kind of bringing into different characters into different books and learning more about their adventures and building the cities up as well and the history behind everything.
That would be good. I like the whole, the reveal was really well laid out. I was keen.
Yeah, I thought about that one a lot. I wanted to make it's revealed for different people at different stages as well. Because as an author or as a reader, you get the reveal quite quickly, but you get the reveal later on for the two kind of Rarden and then Dathi and then everyone else, of course. But you get different reasons for why it was done and what it means to them. And I wanted to kind of focus that with their relationship and make sure it built upon that and it would keep developing that relationship as well as Eileen's own personal growth.
Well, I think you did a wonderful job with the relationships, the friendships, and overcoming, how to overcome things, how to accept yourself the way you are, things like that. Really good messages. And they were just really subtly hidden in the story itself, which made it really impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it actually helped going back to it more recently because a lot of those elements came a little bit later or more defined more recently because I've gone through a lot of changes and coming to accept myself and that sort of thing. So I think that played into it quite a bit and helped me bond with the characters even more so.
And why were wings the first idea that came to you?
I don't know what inspired me about them. I mean, I read a book that those characters had wings. That was about the only similarity because that was a very dark story I read. But I just knew that that was something that I could expand upon. I could include flight for some characters, not for others. And then I could expand on the coloring of the wings. And it was a nice prominent image on the cover I could put on as well. So there was so many different ways I could go about it that I knew it would add a lot of depth to my story and just depth to the world as a whole.
What's your background? Did you go to school for creative writing or
what? So I went to university. I did anthropology major and classics minor, but I could have actually done a double minor with English as well. I was only like 1 or 2 courses short for an English minor. So I did take as many literature classes as I could, like Shakespeare or Old English even. So as much as I could, I did take them. I have taken creative writing courses just on my own. Otherwise, I just wrote since I was about 8 and in grade 3 and then just kept writing. I just love it.
Oh, well, it's really wonderful. It has a beautiful flow to it. Nothing's forced, nothing's overly explained. I know, it's just a really enjoyable, quick read that just really takes you away. You just want to find out what happens next. And you want her to be okay.
Yeah.
You made me get really attached, so please don't kill her. And are you going to be working on any other series when this one's done?
I have quite a few plans for the Empire Freyfield, so even if, like, the next one I wrote, I think will be a bit longer of a series. I have a new character that I'm introducing called Raylin, and I'm doing quite a few stories about her. There again is going to be some characters drawn back because part of it will take place in Moordale as well in the future.
Right.
But I also want to go in different time periods in the history as well and go to the southern part of the Empire and create some stories there too. So I have a lot to work with.
That sounds wonderful. Why was it important for you to put a lot of different types of family secrets and other secrets in the book?
I think because partly a lot of people will pick up on different things, and I think that gives a different experience to each reader. One element, for example, without saying too much, there's a lance. Some of my friends picked up on it, some people didn't. And I think that adds an extra element for future stories. And I think that part of it gave me some opportunity to build off of families or reintroduce them in later works or give them more background later. And I just wanted to show that there was a solid set or a solid background to this city, and that's why there's this conflict that comes into play, because there is these families that have been there for a while at each of the four manors, and in the central manor, of course, where the emperor passes away, and it shows the relationship between them, which gives more weight to some of the events that occur at the end of the story, and just shows reasons for why people go to different manors. So I think it just helped build the story as a whole. And like I said, I just wanted to give readers multiple things to grasp onto and fall in love with.
So going forward in the series, what other things can we expect without giving the story away?
So I have ideas for, well, the next one is in Strongwater, which is on the other side of the Empire. So a little bit focused on one of the newer cities into the Empire, sorry. And like I said, there will be at least one character that's in both stories, but I did make it so that you could read them in either order. You don't have to read the Cardinal War first. This one will take place a couple years after the Cardinal War events. And future ones, I have more details of the ceremony of who allows the flight ability, who's allowed to fly, who isn't, and how this happens. I think I'm focusing a story, I think it'll be my next one I write, will be fairly focused on that. So some of the elements of the Cardinal War, taking bits and pieces and just giving that, either that character or that event, even more depth to it. Like I said, I have a whole document and I have a timeline on there of how I want different stories to fall into play. So I have lots of ideas for the future.
That was going to be one of my questions. How do you keep track of it all? Because you have specific elements. You can definitely see the European flavor of the streets and the way the city is built up. But I don't know how you keep track of it all.
A Word document, definitely, and also pictures. I've drawn, like in my new book, I had to draw Strongwater to make sure, because I talk about the sun a lot, so I had to make sure the sun was facing the right way with the buildings, and so I even drew a picture of that. And it also came up, because the Cardinal War, I give distances of how long it takes to get to different cities. So I've written that down in my document as well to make sure I actually keep true to that, because once I've written the detail in a book, I feel like I have to definitely keep true to that. So I have pages and pages of documents.
And what about the compass here? Can you tell us what's special about this type of compass?
That one, it was really aesthetic to me. It just drew my attention to it. And other than just having the northwest, southeast, which is definitely important for the story, I think having the multiple other in-between points kind of goes with Eileen finding the in-between parts of herself. And there's not one true way, really, that you have to be yourself or interact with other people. It shows the variety sake in there as well. So I like the different compass points, not just the four.
Wonderful.
And it just looks really cool.
And do you think the wings came because didn't you just have your first skydiving experience?
I did have that recently. Yeah, last summer I decided I just wanted to do it and jump out of a plane. That kind of went along with my first, because I got my first tattoo as well that summer, just after I published this book, which is my first book. So it's a lot of firsts last year that I think just after kind of like accepting myself in a lot of ways, I just wanted to try these things and do them. And I do think the wings come close to that because I definitely felt like I was flying when I was up there, not just falling.
That's wonderful. You were really good at describing what it would be like for flying, like
Yeah,
briefly, and just how much it left room for us to find out more about like why some people can fly and use their wings and some people can't. Like that intrigues me. I really want to know more about that.
yeah, so I definitely tried to focus. That was one of the reasons I actually wanted rain in the book because I liked describing. It gave me a way to describe how the rain felt on the wings, and how different elements with flights, like the difference between Deathy's lighter, slimmer wings, how he fights through storms versus Driscoll's thicker wings. There's one point where I talk about that in the Cardinal War. In the next one, which talks about flight a little bit more. They do go into more. I go into more description about the wings, if they're excited, how they move, or more rain, of course, because that seems to be a theme. But and then the third book, like I said, will be probably dedicated to a good portion of the why they can fly and how this power is granted. I don't want to spoil it too soon yet or introduce it too soon to the world. I like doing a little bits at a time.
Hmm.
Like I said, the next give a good chunk of more information for you to, yeah, scratch that itch a little bit.
Well, it's like we're just getting tangible information. So it's like you draw us in to be like, where's book two?
Yeah, that's good. Hopefully, you can buy them all and keep reading them. And like I said, they may not be super long books, but they grab you in, and I think they tell the story well.
So what's your plan for releasing the next five? Is it going to be a few months apart? Is it going to be a year apart on books? How's this going to work?
At least based on the process last time, it took about 3 to 4 months, I'd say. So it kind of depends on just how quickly the editing process goes. Is usually one of the longest. I do already have cover ideas, which is good. That'll speed that process up a little. And I just plan to do a few more edits before, because one of the things from my last experience with the Cardinal War was actually exposing it to my boyfriend, who gave me a 2-hour conversation of what was good, what could be expanded upon, all that sort of thing, which I found really valuable.
Hmm.
And I took the next story, so I'm actually involving him in the process earlier, and he's going to be my next edit step before I do a more official one, because he's not going to do grammar necessarily, just more overall plot to make sure nothing's really missing or something doesn't match up, that sort of thing. So I do want to add that in first. I am hoping for a little vacation coming up soon, so I probably won't start the process till just after I'm back for that. And then I'll work hard and hopefully get it out by some end of summer for sure is my goal.
Oh, great. We're going to go on vacation.
Italy, back to Europe.
Very nice.
I've been before, but Evan hasn't, my boyfriend, so
Oh, well, I'm sure I'll love it.
I hope
And
so. I love it.
I can't wait to see how it plays out in your series.
Yeah, I'm really excited I really like my next work. I love the Cardinal War, but this one, I think because I'm a bit more developed in the writing now, I went through that editing experience and learned how to further develop the story. I've taken all that information and done it on the first draft. So I'm excited to see how it goes through the editing process as well. And I'm excited to share it with everyone.
Oh, we're excited to read it. Thank you for sharing so much about yourself and the series that you're developing. And
Thank you so much for having me.
my pleasure. Until next time, keep asking questions. And if you need a great escape for a young reader or an adult, The Cardinal War will definitely sweep you away. We'll see you soon.